told several times to people, so. Tuxedo Park, really, my home away from home. It's a place where, ever since I was a kid, I played family softball, played Little League there. Football with my dad's where I grew up. All my lasting memories. During the day, you'd find plenty of people out there, little mother-daughter bonding, maybe on the playground or something like that. But at night, it's always been known for terrible crime. Inner city kids always looking to mug some of the upcoming freshmen, sophomores in high school looking to test the envelope, so to speak, walk through the park, usually get mugged or something terrible. I remember when I was in 7th grade, a man committed suicide right in the middle of the park, and every time I'm in there, I could feel like I could hear the ghostly cry. It's a terrible, terrible place. Freshman year of high school, my mom told me, Gianni, don't you be foolish now. You know our family friend Joe got assaulted there a few years ago in the park. Never go in there at night, please. Don't be foolish. Of course, me, with my cocky, egotistical attitude, freshman year, me and two of my friends decided to test the envelope, so to speak, walk through the park, and that ended terribly. We got mugged. I remember the smell and the look in the mirror of my Michael Jordan, North Carolina jersey, taken right from me, right off my back. My friend, his cell phone, my other friend, his shoes. And I just remember walking in the middle of town that night with the only street lights, none in the park, only street lights right in the middle of the town, in my mom's car saying, "Did you learn your lesson?" I said, well, maybe. But I was very angry. I was anxious to get my revenge, anxious maybe one day I would walk back into the park and possibly face my fears. Well, 3 years went by. It was senior year. I'll never forget this night for the rest of my life. June 18th, 2007. Coming home from a graduation party at my friend Caroline's, not that far away from my house. My friends, absolutely hammered, asked me, being in New Jersey, if we wanted to go for a little late night White Castle, and then they'd drop me off at home. I said, well, when they asked me that, I smelled their other friends, Johnny Walker and Jack Daniels, on their breath, so I decided, you know what, I'll pass on that. I'll take the scenic route. I know my house is only about 2 miles away from Caroline, so I decided to take the walk home. As I started walking, I knew that the quickest route from my house is right through the middle of the park. And you know what? Being a senior year, graduation ceremony tomorrow, I figured what could possibly happen. I'm in a good mood. Everything's going good. I'll check it out. I began to walk through. I walked right through the basketball court, and I noticed two guys hanging out on the bleachers, seemingly smoking weed. I mean, you can smell that aroma from a mile away. So on the pathway, I figured, you know what, I'll just keep walking. A little scared at the moment, I'm not gonna lie, but I figured if I nonchalantly just strolled by, they wouldn't bother me. All of a sudden, they started yelling at me, "Yo, cracker, what you up to?" And I just kept walking. I was very, very scared, thinking if I yelled back at them, they'd come after me. If I sprinted away, they'd certainly run after me. So I figured the best approach was just to keep walking. Repeatedly, they were badgering me, telling me to come over. All of a sudden, I'm not sure what came over me. I built up a little courage, and I yelled at them, "Fuck off, I'm going home." And all of a sudden, man was I scared. I felt brave, maybe, courageous, maybe, shivering in my pants, certainly. But however, they didn't bother me. I just kept walking away, and I felt really good about it. I was almost towards the edge of the park when I saw a girl. I passed by a girl. We smiled at each other, knowing that we're not going to bother anybody. And I looked back. She caught me staring at her. That was kind of embarrassing. And I was just about at the edge of the park. I saw the streetlights of the town. All of a sudden, I heard a cry. Well, first I heard a quote from them. "Hey, rude boy, we got ourselves a prime cut coming through here." And then I thought for a second, rude boy. That's the same kid who mugged me freshman year. His best friend, who was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, Shannon, was one of the people who actually mugged my family friend Jill. I was at the very edge of the park. I could have easily walked right through town, walked right back to my house when I was at the edge. Something came over me. Something had to give. I knew that I could not live the rest of my life without going back. All of a sudden, I sprinted back into the park. As I was running towards the basketball court, I saw them begin to mug the girl. I started yelling, hey, hey, get the fuck off her. Of course, they didn't listen. I sprinted right up to the basketball court, right on the blacktop. I confronted Rude Boy. Man, was I nervous at this moment. He said to his friend Noel, Noel, I remember this bitch. I'm gonna have to pull a knife out on him. Man, I was very, very scared at this point. I could have just walked away. I could have walked right back into the middle of town. I have no idea what came over me. It was tense. It was brutal. All of a sudden, I don't even know what came over me. It was me and him face to face. And while Noel was still mugging the girl right next to the outlines of a basketball court, I punched Rude Boy square in the face. It felt so good. Honestly, I felt like Mike Tyson. If I bit a piece of his ear off too, I could have said I was Mike Tyson that night, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And that's the only good shot I got in. Noel immediately came off of the girl and began to help Rude Boy out on me, attacking me in the middle of the basketball court. I was able to get one more whack. I was able to scamper away from their grasp for a couple seconds when I found a yellow wiffle ball bat on the side of the court. Gave him a few whacks, but relatively ineffective. But the good thing was that Noel got off of the girl, and I believe she had a cell phone and notified the police. The police immediately drove up to the blacktop, and since I was 18, legal, they handcuffed me, Noel, and Rude Boy. They took us down to the station that night, and Detective Del Fuente, a man who knew me all too well, plus at one of my parties sophomore year, was reprimanding me while I was waiting to possibly go into juvenile hall that night. Later, after waiting for an hour, he contacted my parents. I couldn't believe it. My parents said, you know what? Leave him there. Throw away the key for a night. I couldn't believe it, as Del Fuente was still talking to me. And the girl, however, though, a shining moment for me was as I was in the waiting room, the girl came up to me and said, I didn't know you were John Lepler. People told me you were a huge troublemaker in high school. You're going to do great things. Thank you again, and God bless you. That for me was one of the best moments of my life. And then Del Fuente also said, you know what, John? You really don't deserve this. You were a hero tonight. Good luck at UMass. And then later I walked right in and spent a night in the station. The next morning, graduation was at 4 o'clock. My mom picked me up from the station and was driving me to the hospital to fill a laceration. I'm not sure if I still have the scar above my eye, but to get stitches. And she asked, some graduation present, huh? I said, well, I can get money, anything like that. But the detective of our town telling me that I was a hero one night when he didn't reprimand me, I can't forget it. Never forgotten. That's it.
Good job. Whew. Nothing like a story like that to wake people up in the morning. Don't worry too much about time, guys, but we do need to stick to the 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I mean, if we go over, we go over. But it's inevitably happens, but we'll make it up.